I didn't even like 5 minutes.
Mayor, disturbing shit.
He's so hyper. This guy wakes up.
Without the cup.
You know what I love about Sukkos? I come on time to Shabbos.
All right, good morning, everybody.
Come on time for Sukkos. I said Shabbos.
Don't push it up.
I got like more.
All right, so we left off yesterday.
By the way, guys.
What
Yeah,
page?
we left off yesterday.
Whoever's listening.
We had a Mishnah.
We do.
We had a Mishnah yesterday
Hmm.
about if there was a move that developed
Okay.
and there was a doubt. Ayin Vav.
Okay, Ahmed Aleph. Huh?
Yeah. So we had a Mishnah yesterday that described if a move developed in her father's house while she was only engaged. So he's going to divorce her over the moon. So the father must bring proof that the blemish developed after they were betrothed, right? And then he can go ahead and collect. And the Sefer said, right? So it was upon the father to go ahead and bring the proof. And then the Sefer said when she got married, right? And then he discovers the moon. So the husband says, out of here. So he doesn't want to pay. So he has to go ahead and basically bring proof that the proof of the burden of proof is upon him to go ahead and bring it and prove that even before that they were engaged, and that's where she developed the moon in her father's house. So he had different cases or different terutzim as to how to answer up the Mishnah in terms of why the burden of proof switches. So now we come upon our third mahalach. So Rav Ashi, 6 lines from the top, and Ayin Vav, Amud Aleph, and around, I don't know, like 10 lines from the bottom. I'm not sure that. So today's Ayin Vav, and the way we go, Rav Ashi Omar, Reisha, Mana Le'aba Biyadcha. Now remember, one last thing to mention, that the Chazaka is that the girl was born without any blemishes. So from birth until the point we know where there was a blemish, we assume that she was blemish free. Only when it's discovered. So right now there's a moon, right? So the chazak it was developed right now because we don't know of any time earlier because we know for a fact that she was born without it. So So the reisha is manali abba biyadcha, right? In other words, in the case of the reisha, right? It's not her having to go ahead and bring the chazaka, that she's been good until now, right? Rather, it's the father making the claim, right? And so therefore, right, so in this case, right, since it's that when basically the claim is that you owe the father money, right?
Where are you holding?
Where
are you holding?
What was that?
What are you holding?
Middle of the page. So since over there, it's not her and her chazaka, rather it's the father. Since the father doesn't have a chazaka group, it's on the girl. So therefore, the father needs to go ahead and make the claim to go ahead and prove. However, the seifa manalibi but seifa, she's coming after the nesuin. She's coming to go ahead and collect for herself, and therefore she can use her chazaka, right? That she's always been good until the husband just discovered it now. So therefore, pay me now, use my chazaka, unless the husband can bring proof to not pay it. So it says over there that Rav Meir even agrees in the case of a mum, right, which is normally comes earlier, right? The mum that come earlier, right, at an earlier age, right? So she had that from her father's house, right? So those types of mumen, right? That is upon the girl's side, the father and the girl. If she wants to go ahead and extract it, they have to prove that this move only came later on, after she got married, and not from before. Why do you say this? She has the chazaka on her body. She's saying, "Hey, pay me now." Right? So why do you say that this type of mum that she has to go ahead and bring the proof? She should have the chazaka, and since she has the chazaka, therefore it should be upon the husband to go ahead and prove. Why is it switched around in this case? You bring proof by somebody showing, yeah, we saw that blemish earlier. We saw that move. So Gemara says, right, or something. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but they filtered
Right?
it.
You can't even trust pictures anymore. That's the problem. So Gemara answers, Biseris, like let's say she had an extra finger, right? So Biseris, my seed, right? So I understand. Well, she had an extra finger. Obviously, that didn't, that was obviously from earlier. So what, she had it before. So what type of proof do you want to go ahead and bring, right? That the woman can go ahead and bring and claim to get her money. So when it says right, the Rav and no, maybe bring proof that the guy saw it before. You saw it 2 years ago, right? There was witnesses that you saw that she had it, and you didn't care. And only now you're making a big stink about it. It's not the fact that you got the blemish. Now you had the blemish, since she was born, right? It was only that perhaps bring proof that was the case. Fine, 2 dots. I'm gonna be the Shmuel.
In other words, if she,
Let's say it.
Even has his relatives check her out, so he usually.
So we had right. So we had that before. There's no type of move that he couldn't, right? Especially if there's even the private ones. If there's a schwitz, right?
Not Friday, he should check her out himself.
He's right. I mean, what we said earlier is a chazaka that a person doesn't go ahead and purchase something without right.
Father's saying,
Yeah.
he had checked her out.
Right. Well, that's the proof he has to bring in that case.
Yeah.
That's the proof. Fine.
I'm
Rabbi Yomer
gonna
Shmuel.
check somebody out.
Yeah. His mother.
It's us.
It's on the resume.
Why don't you wear a
On the
burqa?
resume.
Rabbi Yomer Shmuel. Hamachlif para b'chamor. All right. So let's say Eddie and I are trading. I'm giving him my donkey, and he's giving me his cow. Donkey. And I go ahead and I take Eddie's cow and I make a kinyan by doing mashicha, right? By pulling the cow. Now, once I do that, I acquire the cow, and Eddie acquires the donkey.
well,
So
I also have to make the shoe.
no, I do it for both. It's the transaction, it's the trade. So once I do, you acquire where it's at. Now,
So
now a
only
second.
one machine is necessary.
correct, right. Now, so then Eddie said, okay, where's the donkey? Right, you have my cow, where's the donkey? I said, it's in my garage. He goes to my garage and he finds it dead. All right? So he speak right? You don't have a chance to go ahead and take it until the donkey dies. It's on me to go ahead and prove that it was still alive, right? That it was still alive when I did. It was my donkey. My donkey died. I'm the balachamor. I did mashicha on the para, and then it's dead. So it's the burden of proof is on me to prove that it was alive, and therefore, sorry, Eddie, you're stuck with a dead donkey. Right? So Lavi Raya Shahaya Chamora Kaya B'Shas Mashichas Para. But to bring proof that it was alive during the time of the pulling of the cow. The Tana Tuna Kala. And this was learned from the case of the Kala, right? The case of the Kala, which is B'Chair referring to our Mishnah, right? The case of the Mishnah, right? Where there was a burden of proof upon somebody to prove as to when this suffix happened. The suffix as when the blemish was created. Just like there's a doubt as to when the donkey died, right? We know the donkey was born without being dead, obviously, right? So, and also the woman was born without the blemish. And there's a suffix.
Each time so just like the donkey where the owner has to bring proof. So to the college.
So now we're going to say, okay, how did you compare it to the case of Kal? Hi, Kal, right? Ilema. So which case of the Kal? Remember, because iteration is safe. So Ilema Kala B'Beisaviha. If you want to say, right, that we're talking about where the Kala is in Beis Avia, in her father's house. Now, it's in the case of the Reisha. Now, Rashi explains, as we're talking about the first Shita of Rabbi Elazar, who says that there's difference between Rabbi Shua and Rabbi Gamliel, and Rabbi Gamliel will say throughout that in the case of that even in the case of where the Rabbi Gamliel holds throughout that even in the case of the Reisha where the son's there, right, the burden of proof would be on. Right, the burden of proof would be on the other. In that case, that even though the suffix was born in the house of the father, it's still on the husband to go ahead and bring the proof that he doesn't have to go ahead and pay. So in this case over here, right? He wants to compare it to the Kala B'Beis Saviyah, that even though that the suffix was born, right, in the father's house, it's upon the husband to go ahead and bring proof in this case that she just, in other words, that, she had it from earlier. So midami hasa maybe maisi av raya umapi. Over there in the case, the father brings proof to go ahead and take the ksuba. In other words, since the father has to go ahead and bring proof, right? So he's bringing proof that the moon happened just now, and then he's going to be able to go ahead and extract the money from the husband. Pay me the ksuba. Hacha maisi balachamor raya umaykin. But over here, right, when I bring the proof that the donkey was alive when I did Mashiach, I get to keep. So it's two different cases. You can't say one is the case of proving and extracting, and this is a case of proving and keeping. So it's not similar to the case of Beis Saviyah, because if it happens at the father's house, right, we say the burden of proof, right, is the father has to bring the burden of proof over there in that case, right? Not the husband. I said the husband. I meant the father brings the proof, right, in that case, even though the suffix, right, and he has to bring proof in that case, and therefore, but hasam maisi av raya umapi. So Rabbi Abba, we're talking about Kala B'Beis Chamel. So let's talk about a case of where the Kala, right, where she's already in her father-in-law's house. She already went to their husband's house. So in this case, we want to say that the husband, right, goes ahead and brings proof, right, in order to go ahead and that she had it all the time. And since she had it all the time as a house, he gets to keep the money, just like the case of the Baal Chumbar, right, that he brings the proof that the donkey was dead, the donkey was alive, and therefore he keeps the donkey. So both cases, you bring a proof and you get to keep. So the Gemara says, "V'akati le'dami hasam bal ma'isi raya umar le'chesed da'af." Over there in the case of the husband, so the proof that he's bringing that she got it, that she right over there, that she had it originally, goes against the chazaka of the father. The chazaka is that she never had the moon. She was born without it, and therefore it goes against the chazaka. Hacha, but in this case, balachomor maisi raya umukim chaskel biyadeh. And therefore it's going with the chazaka. The chazaka is the animal was born alive, so therefore the animal is always assumed to be alive. So therefore the burden of proof here is with the chazaka, as opposed to the case of the father, right? When the husband goes ahead and brings proof that she already had the blemish by the time I married her, that goes against the chazaka. So therefore, scratch what we said until now. So he says, so Kala the base of the Kedushin. We're talking about, right, when the Kala is in Beis Saviyah, right? She's still in her father's house. And now we're talking about, however, the Kedushin, where the father wants to go ahead and bring proof, right, that she just got it, using her chazaka, because she was known never to have it. So using her chazaka in order to keep something. What's he keeping? The Kesef Kedushin, right? In other words, the guy says, okay, this is, divorcer says, okay, well, give me the ring back. I keep the ring, right? So over here, the Kesef Kedushin, so he's bringing a proof that the moon just developed with the chazaka and able to keep, just like the Baal Chomor is able to, keep what he has and also use the chazaka. And Veloitim, by the way, don't say leave the mandem the Kedushin lav to view these. No, don't say that it's only going to the opinion who holds that the Kedushin basically is washed up. In other words, but you can't get it back. No. Even if you say normally that the Kedushin basically is not something that's returnable, rather it's kept. So Hani Mili, Kedushin Vadai, that's only a definite Kedushin is kept, right? I know it's definite Kedushin, whatever happens, let's say they get engaged, because of Kedushin, she dies. So the guy says, hey, give me the money back. So there's a machlekes over there whether the money goes back or not. But over here, that's only a Kedushin Vadai, right? About Kedushin toast, but something in this case, in other words, where it was a mega toast, there was no Kedushin even in the first place. But Kedushin toast, therefore, if he brings the proof, yes. If not, he doesn't go ahead and get to keep it.
So we're not even talking about.
We're not even talking about the case of our Mishnah. In other words, that case of by Shmuel was not learned out from our Mishnah. Completely different case. It just had to do with Kesef Kedushin. That the Kesef Kedushin, he's saying it was never chal at all because it was a mekach tos. And therefore he says no. So therefore he wants to go. So the father brings proof that she just got it, the moon, and therefore he gets to keep the kesef kedusha.
So it has nothing to do with Kesef Ksuba.
Correct. Now, Meisvei. So in other words, it's nothing to do with our mission, right? Or because our mission is talking about the ksuba, right? Like you're saying.
Yeah.
So Meisvei, that's how they deflect it. So Machas Shanim says, basically, if you find a needle inside one of the walls, right, in the thickness of the walls of one of the stomachs. So mitzad echad kshera, if it's only through and doesn't go all the way through, then it's not, the animal's not considered to be a treifa. Mishnei tzad. But if it goes through and see both sides, then it's a treifa. Then the animal is not kosher. And therefore, basically, if a butcher is buying the animal from a farmer, right, therefore he can have a claim, hey, you sold me a treifa, I want my money back. Now, if you find that there's blood upon the needle, you know that it occurred before the shechita. And if there was no blood found on the needle, then he says that the shechita, therefore at the time of the shechita it was okay, no problem, kosher meat. Now, hugla piamaka, if we say over there that there was like a scab that formed right above, like there was a wound, a scab before. Now, if we know that there was, let's say, blood and it was scabbed over and it was already 3 days old and I just bought it yesterday, right? So we know that you sold me an animal that was a treifa, and therefore it's clear that it was a treifa. It was 3 days old. Now, let's say, here's the case of the suffix, why we're bringing it in. Let's say there was no scab yet. So it was within the last 3 days, right, that it must have occurred, right?
The scab inside the stomach.
So we don't know, right?
I don't think it's scab.
Or whatever it is, it's
Says
congealed or whatever it is, or I don't know, right?
You're
It's
talking about the insurance in the inside. It says
basocosis, right? That's the stomach
Open
wall, of the stomach wall. Yeah, one of the stomachs. Now, so you say in this case, it's a suffix as to when it occurred, right? Was it after I purchased it from the guy or before? Right before I get my money back, it was after tough on me, right? If I want to go ahead and Mayor sold me the animal and I'm the butcher, right? So therefore, right, I already paid him the money. So therefore, I have to go ahead and bring proof that it occurred just now. Now, so if I went ahead and already paid the money, right? If I gave him the money, then I have to go ahead and bring proof that the animal already had it before, and then I can go ahead and take my money back. So why should that be? Baal behema, right? Right? We should say that the mayor, who's the seller, like according to Shmuel's reason, bring proof and then you get to keep. Mayor should bring the proof that the animal was good, right? And then he'll get to keep it. He'll use the chazaka, right? That the animal was always good. So mayor should use the chazaka and get to keep the money, according to Shmuel, which was opposite over here. The burden of proof is on me, the butcher, not on mayor. So the answer is no. That's not what we're saying here. We're not, because it depends where the doubt is, right? So it depends what the doubt is. So Gemara says no, but the lo yayiv tafka to me. So we're talking about a case where I didn't give mayor the money, and therefore I have to go ahead and bring the proof, and then I keep it. So Gemara says by pascha. So why do you give a psak that's not a shak in all cases? Normally when I buy an animal, right, from mayor, I give him the money, and then I get the animal. Over here, we're talking, I bought it on credit, right? I bought it on credit. So therefore, I bring the proof that it was, that it was, I have to bring the proof with the chazak, and I get to keep the money. It doesn't make sense. So Ella kiyasa. So rather, we say no. Kiyasa Recheska Amar loy tatzainu bahani kali dechal Yehuda. Don't listen to that which my brother Yehuda said. Name of Shmuel. This is what Shmuel said originally, right? From the 2 dots on the previous Amud. Kol Chanel at Savik Rishuso. If the Safek was born in his Rishus, Alav Harayim. Upon him is the burden of proof. But Tani Tuna Kala. And therefore learn the case of Kala. Now it's Shaykh Torah Mishnah. When the Safek is born in the father's house, in the case of where she's in Arusa, it's on the father to go ahead and bring proof that that it occurred after they were engaged, and therefore he gets to keep the money. When the suffix is born in the house after she gets married in the husband's house, the husband has to bring proof that it was like that before. So therefore, wherever it's born, and that's the case of pulling the animal, right? Since the suffix, I pulled, right, Eddie's cow, and the suffix was born in my garage, because that's where my donkey was, I got to go ahead and bring proof. So the Gemara says, well, wait. What about the case of here? The basic case. So we had this whole case over here, the suffix over here. We don't know as to when the needle went through the stomachs. And if we're talking about a case, right, and if I didn't go ahead and give the money yet, right? So then the Baal Behema, right? Then Mayor should have to go ahead and bring proof, right? Well, what do you mean, right? The suffix. So why does the Baal Behema have to go ahead and bring proof, right? It should be that since the suffix was born where? The suffix was born once the butcher took the animal. So once the butcher took the animal, right? It should be, since the suffix was born on me, right? Because the butcher took it. Well, he took it from the guy and chefed it, right? The butcher's buying it from the farmer, right? So the butcher should have to bring the proof, not the Baal Behema, not Mayor. I should be the one who brings. So our answer is the Yoim Tavach Adami. Talking about a case where I paid him the money. Since I paid him the money, right? So therefore, I have to go ahead and I want and therefore the proof is I'm Shapaska. So if that's the case, what's the clear psak? Why every case? So our answer is no. Stop at the milsa. Right. The normal case is you want the animal, right? You pay money, right? So therefore, most cases are when I actually give over the money to Mayor, right? And therefore, right. And therefore, the case is it's on him to go ahead and bring the proof that the animal was still alive.
Won't be the case if he actually gave it to my credit and hasn't paid him.
Well, that was the case. Then it would work against that, because then the other guy would have to go ahead and bring the proof, right? In order to go ahead and extract the money. I would have to bring the seller. Well, I still have the money, right? So since I still have the money, then he would have to go ahead and bring it. Now, just real quick, 2 dots. Good thing I took the page. We're talking about only mooms that are private. And what are some of which are considered private? Amarav Nachman, the nichbek kemumen the beseser dam, right? Epilepsy is considered to be a private one, because one can control sort of when they have, I guess, their epileptic seizures or whatever, or at some point they know they have a certain schedule. The cover these man, it's only when it's kavua's man, they know normally when they have it, therefore they avoid going out, they avoid to be seen. But if they can't really avoid, there's no set schedule, then therefore it's considered something which is public and known, and not something which is private. All right, we'll stop here at the Mishnah. Everyone have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.